All right. So this was the title or the description that I sent to Cora some time ago, or to Rosemary, about my presentation. I wrote this and then I sent it to Rosemary. And then I thought afterwards, oh, this is on AI. I should see if AI has any suggestions. So I fed it into ChatGPT and it had all kinds of suggestions. And it's like, too late. I already sent it in. The point of this is, if we are not using artificial intelligence in our jobs, we're probably working too hard, for what AI is able to do for us. So we have had, over the last 250 years, a number of industrial revolutions. Back in the late, 1700s, 1800s, we had a lot of manual labor. And then the early 1800s, people invented the steam engine. And as a result, the ditch diggers were put out of work, and instead we had people running large equipment. In the late 1800s, the 1900s, the turn of the century, we shifted from people doing manual labor to doing electric labor, where they had electric washing machines and things like that. Back in the 1980s, the 1990s, we had the shift from, this is a little bit before that. This is a picture from probably the 40s or the 50s. But we had people doing manual telephone operating to using technology such as the personal computer. So this was a dramatic shift. Each of these in their own right was a dramatic shift, these industrial revolutions. In each case of the past industrial revolutions, we've seen a pattern. We've seen new tools enabled by technology. We've seen things that are safer, that are faster, that are more productive. And that's what's happened. The fact is our quality of life is influenced in major ways by these industrial revolutions. Okay, so that takes us through the three primary industrial revolutions we've experienced over the last 250 years. There are some downsides to this, as we have discovered. One of the downsides of an industrial revolution and about the automation of manual processes is this. The patient says to the doctor, the problem is that obesity runs in our family. The doctor replies, no, the problem is no one runs in your family. What do you say? It's true. It is true that it's harder to stay in good physical condition with all the automation that we have. So the question we're going to ask ourselves is, how is AI impacting our mental condition, both of us and of our students? Okay, the other one that's a big problem, often cited about this, is unemployment. And right now in the US, unemployment is pretty low, but it's forecast to go up precipitously because of artificial intelligence taking over jobs. And so that's another challenge that we have. So we're going to have to think about this a little bit. And I'm going to talk about ways that we can kind of protect against some of these things. All right, so right now, we are in the midst, or maybe the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, the fourth Industrial Revolution, which is the introduction of AI. And it's a little different than the prior industrial revolutions, largely because of the target audience that it addresses, the types of jobs and types of problems that it solves. So this picture is supposed to represent professionals, including, electricians and architects and doctors and professors are actually fit in this as well. Academicians fit in this as well. So what is the fourth industrial revolution? It is this. It is replacing human decision-making with robotic decision-making. This is kind of a scary picture. I'm sorry it's the picture that it is. I probably could have found a better face of robots here. But that's kind of what's happening here, is replacing human labor and human thought processes with technology. So there are some ways that this fourth industrial revolution, the AI revolution, is similar to the prior industrial revolutions. They include dramatic increases in productivity. In fact, for software engineers, they've estimated 10 times increase in productivity for the software engineers that use artificial intelligence. It does eliminate some jobs, so that's been the same pattern we've seen in the past, but it also creates new jobs. That's an important thing, is that we have shifts. It does force the workers to upskill. So workers, back in the early industrial revolution, it was learning how to shift from manual labor to automated labor. Well, similar thing today, is this fourth industrial revolution is going to force us to shift from doing purely mental labor to doing automated mental labor. In most cases, the new jobs are better than the old jobs, meaning they're less repetitive, they are less routine, they tend to be more creative jobs, and so forth. So there are some ways that this current AI industrial revolution is different from prior industrial revolutions. One of those is it's impacting jobs at the top of the skill ladder. So what that means is, in each past instance, what we found is when a job was eliminated, it was typically replaced by a job that required actually greater skill. So the manual workers that were working, for example, in the fields doing manual labor, harvesting cotton or strawberries or whatever, they were replaced by automation, and the new workers would learn how to run the automation and technology. Or we would find that the factory workers, when they were replaced by robots, they would go get white-collar jobs working in banks or in healthcare facilities or whatever like that. The challenge we face now is that we're talking about the jobs like doctors and attorneys and other professionals that are at the top of the skill ladder. So the question is, where do they go if they're already at the top of this skill ladder here? They're knowledge workers in creative industries, highly trained experts, doctors, lawyers, academicians. Okay, how do you upskill? See, that's a big thing that we need to think about in academia is how are we going to upskill? How will we change the way we run our jobs, the way we teach our classes, the way we conduct our research, and so forth? So this is the primary focus of this presentation is how are we going to upskill? In what ways is AI going to change us so that we will be able to be more productive and that we will be able to have, higher quality in what we do and so forth? Okay, so in higher education, AI is an enabler, and I'll talk about some examples, things like interactive textbooks, robotic tutors, automated content creation. I'll take you through some examples of those in a little bit. It also is a disruptor. We have the issue of academic dishonesty, and this is going to come up. I'll mention this a little bit later as well, but this is a serious issue because students can now do homework assignments by feeding the problems into AI, and it will solve the problems for them. They could be written assignments, they could be mathematical assignments, or whatever. And I was actually talking to one of our finance professors just this past week, and he was telling me that in his class, he's usually been open book, open notes. You can use a spreadsheet on any of his exams. And now that AI is available, he's rethinking that because the AI is so good at taking an abstract problem and coming up with a solid solution that he's actually thinking that this may defeat, the educational process here. So that's something we have to think about is, how do we manage that? And I have some ideas that I'll share in a minute. Another one that's a big popular topic in the media as well is hallucinations, is that some of the generative AI tends to make things up. It kind of cracks me up. In the image generation, the problem that it had for a long time was it couldn't figure out how many fingers people had on their hands. So the software engineers went to a lot of work to figure out how to reprogram these things to let people know that you have 5 fingers on your hand. So, but in textual creation, the challenge is that it would make things up, but express them very confidently, so we think that it's truth when in fact it's wrong. And you can question the AI and tell it, no, I don't think that's right, and it will say, oh yeah, I did make a mistake there, get it to correct it. But there's been great efforts, and there's actually improvements in the technology that are decreasing the incidence of hallucinations, but we still need to deal with that. And another disruptor is laziness. This is the challenge of, I already mentioned about generative AI makes things easy, even to the point where people don't put as much mental exertion into solving whatever problems that they have. And that's going to be a challenge with our students. It's a big part of what we do is to try to push students into thinking at a higher level. And with AI, there's a risk that it might cause them to think at a lower level and think, be more about regurgitation and, just getting the answer without thinking through the process. We can solve that problem, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit. Any questions so far? All right. So I'm going to present what I consider to be a new paradigm for learning. Now, this is going to be part of a research project eventually, but currently it's based on my own experience this past semester studying pedagogy and using AI. And I'll describe that in just a little bit here. So imagine a future education where every student, we could provide every student with a personal tutor. So imagine that. Imagine that we had personal tutors for everybody. Imagine that this tutor had expert knowledge of the instructor, as much knowledge as an instructor would have. This tutor had perfect patience and tremendous kindness. Imagine that this tutor had an infinitely flexible schedule. It could help the student day or night. Imagine that it was practically no variable cost. You didn't have to pay this tutor. Imagine that this tutor would do almost anything the student asks, including completing homework, Okay, how would that be? That could be kind of a disruptive world, if you can imagine that. Well, here we go. The future is now. We have that personal tutor. It's the AI engine now. Now the question is this tutor going to work for us or work against us? Is the tutor going to undermine our pedagogy, or is the tutor going to aid the pedagogy and help increase the level of learning that our students experience? All right, so the AI personal tutor, some advantages. It is tremendously scalable. This is a beautiful thing about this. There's almost no marginal cost, meaning once you set up an AI engine, you can replicate that over hundreds, if not thousands of students for almost no cost at all. Tremendously customizable. This is an amazing thing. The AI tutor can adjust the abilities and personalize by custom instructions. So this is an interesting thing, and I don't know if any of you had a chance to experience this, but in fact, I could actually show you an example of this here. I assume, can you see the Baguio weather on my screen? Raise your hand if you can see Baguio weather on the screen to see if does that display? Okay, good. I was just checking the weather here. I wish I was there with you in Baguio right now. Okay, I'm going to go to Chat GPT. So this is my Chat GPT account. In fact, let me make this a little bigger here, and I'll zoom it in so it'll be a little easier to read. Okay, so I use GPT for a lot of things in my life. In fact, I have to buy a Christmas gift for my son, Jared. So the other day I was actually talking to him about that. So I can give it a question like, explain large language models to a 10-year-old. Okay, I can tell it to explain large language models to a 10-year-old. So now it's explaining this to a 10-year-old. All right, fine. So it's giving me some answers here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the large language model, and I'm going to set up a custom instruction here. And the custom instruction that I gave it says, what would you like ChatGPT to know about you to provide better responses? I said, I love claim comedy, such as by Brian Regan, a popular comedian. I don't know if any of you follow him. I also enjoy talking about the Philippines. And I would like GPT to respond as a citizen of a monarchy would address a king. So I'm going to turn this on here and save it. And I'm going to give it a prompt now, which is explain what stable diffusion does. Okay, so I gave it another AI question here. Oh, it's not working. Oh, actually, here's my problem. Sorry, just a second. Let me stop this. I forgot. I need to start a new session here. Explain large language models. So I'm just going to tell it to explain large language models to me. How is it going to respond? Your Majesty, in the realm of computational intelligence, large language models, such as the one at your service, is akin to a grand library brimming with a vast expanse of knowledge. It's explaining to me as though I were a king, and if we read through this, we would see that it probably includes humor. I haven't seen anything about the Philippines yet. Oh, that's disappointing. All right, here, let me try this. Where is the best place to go on vacation? Let me see what it says. Your Majesty, royal interests, yeah. The Enchanted Isles of the Philippines. How is that? So why did it list the Philippines first? Because I told it that I like to talk about the Philippines. Now, what's the point of this? Okay, no, it's giving me Japan, New Zealand. Yeah, okay, thank you, ChatGPT. So the point of this is that with our students, we can program this to meet the needs of individual students. That each student, based on their language skills, based on their personal communication preferences, that this tutor will accommodate that and make it easier for them to learn. One GPT I was using the other day, one model, it actually asked me, it says, what grade are you in? And it was a math tutor. It says, tell me what grade you're in and kind of what you're working on. And then it customized that based on that information. Okay, another one is it's tremendously expert. So these large language models are trained by basically what they call the corpus of the internet. It's basically everything that they can access known to humankind that's out there published. In some cases, it could be things like Wikipedia. You can train them on specific documents, such as medical papers and things like that. Specific I can never tell, is the plural of corpus corpuses or corpora or corpori? I don't know. Does anybody know? We should vote on this. I should have like a voting thing set up here. But anyway, it's trained on very extensive data. Okay, some considerations with this AI personal tutor that I'm talking about here. Making sure we have the appropriate body of knowledge. That's actually been solved by what's known as embedding in vector databases, meaning the technology for that is out there and it is very inexpensive. So in fact, I showed my students this. I took one of my textbooks, I took half a dozen chapters, I threw it up onto one of these large language models, loaded it into a vector database, which took all of 5 minutes. And then after that, I drilled it on my material and I asked it to translate it into Spanish. How long did it take? 30 seconds. These technologies are pretty amazing and they're available right now. Another one is deployment. How do we get these things running? There are tons of free and low-cost tools out there on the internet. It just blows my mind at how much there is. I mentioned about Hugging Face having 400,000 models available. The tools out there are an amazing number of free models, free or low-cost models. That issue I mentioned before about homework abuse, how do we address that? AI is great at writing papers. It's great at creating presentations. In fact, my students use it to create the images in their presentations. Unbelievable. They can never do this on their own. It's great at taking notes from videos. So you can actually, if you have a video, it could be a YouTube video or whatever, you can tell the AI to watch the video and provide summary notes of that. The students don't even need to watch the videos anymore. They can get it from the AI. And it's great at solving complex problems. So let me take you through an example of that. I'm taking this semester as part of my learning in this, some computer science courses in AI to learn the technical aspects of AI. So I was sitting in class, and this is actually not a picture of my professor, nor is it a picture of me as a student. I'm a little bit older than that. So I'm in a class with some other professors. This last week, one of the professors gave a homework assignment. He said it had to do with what's called convolutional neural networks. Assume a traditional CNN with an input layer of 16 by 16 followed by a convolution layer of 8 feature maps using 5.5 receptor field and so forth. This was the problem that he gave us for homework. And we had a couple of days to complete this. This was going to take each of the students probably an hour each. While we were still sitting in class, I typed this into ChatGPT. I typed just basically what he'd written on that, put up on the display into GPT. And it told me to calculate the number of trainable weights. We need to consider each layer separately. And in fact, I can show you the response it gave me is, let's see, Potter like story. Let's see, good ice cream. Where was it? Here we go. Trainable weights. It actually came in. Sorry, there's just a bunch of stuff I was doing that day. You probably know this, that ChatGPT keeps track of everything you do unless you delete it. So here it told me, it took me through each of the layers. It did a analysis of this, did calculations, and then it came up with the answer, which was 938. How long did it take to get this answer? After I typed in the prompt, it took about a minute to get the answer. So that's kind of a problem because this homework assignment was supposed to take, at least an hour of work, and I completed the whole thing in about a minute. Afterwards, I went up after class and told the professor, I said, hey, I showed him my notebook computer. I said, hey, I solved this with AI. How did he respond? He said, I hope the students don't do that. Now, this was a course on AI. And he hopes that the students don't use AI to complete their homework. Is that a problem? Yeah, that is a problem. The fact is, students are going to use AI on their homework, whether we like it or not. And it will solve the homework in 1/10 of the time that it takes the students to solve the homework themselves, almost regardless of the nature of the homework. Okay, this is a problem. We need a solution. So the solution that I propose, and I've kind of experimented with this semester, it's what I call hyper flipping the classroom. So what I mean by hyper flipping the classroom is, in a traditional classroom, we have assigned reading. So we tell the students, go read this chapter or whatever. We have come to class where we have supposedly an interactive lecture, but we have a lecture. Sometimes we interact with the students. And then they have homework, which is decoupled. And by decoupled, what I really mean is they're doing it separate from class. They're doing it outside of class. So we have assigned readings are outside of class. They come to class, and then they do things outside of class. We have the flipped classroom, which became popular certainly through the pandemic and even before that. With the flipped classroom, we have assigned readings, which again, students do on their own, decoupled. We have online lectures, so we record the lectures that the students watch, and then they do, in class, we do interactive projects. Okay, and that actually worked. The reason they call that flipped is because we change between doing the lectures decoupled and we do the assignments interactively. Well, there's this idea of a hyper flip classroom. What that means is, and this is what I've done this semester with my students, is we, instead of assigning readings, we assign topics. We assign outcomes without giving them the reading. Then the students are required to use the AI tutor, like ChatGPT, to study those topics, to find out the answers by interacting with GPT or some other large language model. And then when they come to class, we do assessment and review. And the assessment comes in the form of a quiz or some other assignment that we do in class. And for those, I don't want the students to use AI as they're sitting there in class. And what that does is tells them the depth that I would like them to know the material. So if I'm teaching them something mathematical, I'll say, hey, you're welcome outside of class to do whatever you want to do to solve the problems. But when you come to class to take the quiz, I'm going to give you the problem and you have to solve it by yourself. And what that does is, again, provides motivation to the students. Then we review things. So class time winds up being very productive. So what this basically does is makes the interactive part both AI interactive in the time of study and in-person interactive with me at the time of assessment and review. So, and the nature of assignments differ. So for a traditional class, we might say, listen to this lecture, come to class, read these chapters, complete some problems. For a flipped classroom, we say, hey, watch this lecture online, read these chapters, and then we'll come complete problems in class. With a hyper flipped classroom, we say, study these topics, and we give them some topics. Create something. Prepare for the quiz and review. So the students are being forced to be more creative. They're forced to be resourceful and to figure out how to use the AI engine, the large language model, to use it to be successful in both their assignments, but also in the assessment that we're going to give them in class. All right, so here's an example of an assignment that I gave in class this past semester. I told them, I said, study the OpenAI GPT API, whatever that means. It's just a bunch of, acronyms there. But I gave them this as an assignment. I said, your job, and by the way, these are non-technical students. These are students who most of them have never written a computer program in their life. I said, create a Python program that uses the API to create rap rhymes on the user's topic. So they're going to create something that will create rap music on a user's topic, then prepare for the quiz. And then modify the code to complete some other useful function. That's the creation part of it. I'm saying you need to create something new here. Well, that's a pretty hard assignment for most classes, but not with AI. So what the students do is they go online and they use AI to help them solve this problem. And in fact, I actually tested this assignment on one of my kids before I turned it over to my students. And it was a part of the assignment that I was struggling to solve myself. My daughter solved it in like 5 minutes, and she does not have a technical background. And I asked her, I said, how did you solve it? She says, oh, I took the assignment and fed it into ChatGPT and had it come up with a solution. Hallelujah. You know, it was a great thing, being resourceful there. So I actually did the same thing myself to prepare the assignment. So students can ask the large language model different things. They can say, what is the OpenAI GPT API? How do I use it? Write me code. You can actually ask it to write you code to do this. What does the following Python code mean? And you give it some code there. Identify errors in the code. Explain the code. Okay. Actually, let me, I can show you a quick example of that. I'm going to tell ChatGPT here, write me a program that will, what's something I'd like to have done? That will create vacation plans to a particular country, if I can spell, that the user specifies. Okay, I'm going to tell it to write me vacation plans. Of course, I got to spell it at least close enough. That'll create vacation plans to a particular country that the user specifies. I'm making this up here. So here's what it's doing. Oh, sorry, it's already done there. Let's see, where'd it go? Okay, creating a program to generate vacation plans for a specific country. Okay, here we go. It's telling me what it's going to do. I will write a basic Python program. The example will be quite basic. Won't access real-time data. It's telling me what it's doing, but I can change that. And now it's actually writing the program here. So when it's done, so it's actually looking like it's finding plans for France, Japan, Brazil. I'm surprised it's not including the Philippines there, since that was on my list of favorite places to be. Okay, so here's the code. So it actually wrote me a little software here. To run the program, it's telling me how to run it and stuff like that. Okay, so the impact on the educational experience, the student experience, more interaction, more customization, more creativity, more responsibility, more in-class assessment. For the instructor, for us, it means less lecturing, less student hand-holding, less boring work for teaching assistants, more in-class assessments, less work grading exams. Now, by a show of hands, how many of you have grading exams as the favorite part of your job? By a show of hands. Nobody? Okay, how many have grading exams as one of the least favorite part of your jobs? By a show of hands. Come on, be honest. All right. I hate grading exams. It's a lot of work. All right. So I'm going to take you through, to finish this up here, I'm going to take you through 4 case studies about how we can use AI to improve the nature of pedagogy and the educational experience. The first one is using AI to write and grade exam questions. And by the way, if you're not doing this already, you need to start because it does such a great job. So I gave ChatGPT a prompt. I said, write a concise multiple choice question about counterfactual analysis, a statistical concept. And it came back and it said, certainly, which of the following best describes counterfactual analysis? It gave me 4 answers, and then it told me what the right answer is. And you know what? I have been writing exam questions for 30 years now. These questions that GPT writes are as good or probably actually better than anything I write. And they take very little effort. Now, in some cases, they want to be more specific. So I would say, write concise multiple choice answers to the following question. Which of the following is an example of A/B testing? So here I'm actually telling it the question I want the answers to be about. And then it came in and gave me, okay, here's A, B, C, and D. It gave me 4 options. And then again, it told me what the right answer is here. It's amazing. It does such a good job. It just really is amazing. All right. What about if you want to do short answer questions? So write a short answer question, exam question on the creation of vector databases, which is something I covered in my class. So it actually wrote me a question, which was, explain the motivation behind the creation of vector databases and describe a scenario where they could be particularly beneficial compared to traditional databases. It said 10 marks, which I think means 10 points. Then I said, what would be a good answer to that question? And it said a good answer should touch on the following, and it gave me something that's kind of what it should include in this. Now, that's great for answering or creating questions. What we really want is we want it to grade the answers for us. That's what we really want. Let's give it a try. Grade student responses. So I actually took that question it gave me, and I said to ChatGPT, grade the following answer to that question. Then I gave it a student answer the student would give here. The motivation for creating vector databases is such and such like that. I asked it to grade it, and it told me, it says the answer provides a valid point regarding the motivation, blah, blah, blah. Elaborating on how vector databases, it gave some good feedback. The answer provided the right track, but lacks depth, so forth. It could be awarded 7 to 10 points out of 10. So it actually graded this thing. That is more feedback than I ever give my students about short answer questions. So it's giving the students much better feedback than they've ever had in the past. Okay, you can use a rubric for this. So I told GPT, I said, you are a professor highly skilled in grading student responses to written assignments. You will grade assignments based on the following dimensions: grammar, I want to have good grammar; focus, does the respondent focus on the topic of the assignment; accuracy; interest, how interesting is it? For each of these three, provide a score from 1 to 10 and provide an answer. Here's the first question, grade the following response. So I gave it a student response. Here's the feedback it gave me. Grammar, 7 out of 10, strengths, weaknesses. Focus, 8 out of 10, strengths, weaknesses. Accuracy, 9 out of 10, strengths and weaknesses. Interest, 6 out of 10, strengths and weaknesses. Overall feedback. Again, much better feedback to the students than I would ever give them myself, or that my TAs would ever do, my teaching assistants. Okay, number 2, negotiation skills. So this is for an out-of-class exercise. So I got this from a guy named Ethan Mullock, who's a blogger that does AI blogs. The prompt that he said is about creating a role play system that will test you on negotiation skills. And what it does is it says, you say, ready, and you wait to start, and then you basically interact with the AI, and then at the end, it'll give you a grade. So I had my friend, Simon Greathead, who teaches negotiations here at Brigham Young University. I had him use this. And so it said, I'm buying a used car, told me about what the price was. It was about buying a car. So the AI was selling the car, and Simon had to negotiate for this. So Simon came back and said, oh, I'll give you $12,000 for it. GPT says, oh, that's too low. The price would be higher for that. Simon said $12,500. He says, that's still quite low. He said, the best I can do is this. So he's trying to negotiate with it. They went through all this interaction, trying to negotiate. And then finally, at the end, he said, okay, give me a grade. Simon said, give me a grade. And the feedback, it gave him a B+, which is kind of sad given that he teaches this class, but I don't think he was trying very hard. And then it gave him some strengths about the model they were using, and it gave him some ideas for improvement as well. So again, the AI can be used outside of class as a tutor to help the students practice the skills we want them to know in class. Number 3, using AI to design a course. So when I started this past semester with my AI course, I said, design me a 12-week course on business applications, or AI applications in business. And it created the entire outline for me. Day by day, or week by week, it told me what the topics were. I didn't put all the details in here. When it was done with that, I said, there's all kinds of questions I can ask it. Give me detail about week 2. What is machine learning? What are the main differences between the different supervised and unsupervised reinforcement learning? What are common algorithms? What is keras? So I can basically interact with this outline to get more information that will help me prepare the course. Number 4, and finally, is using AI in research. So I gave it a prompt. What are the 4 most influential research papers by Scott Sampson? So I was trying to see what it knew about me. If I were to do this even 3 months ago, it would have given me garbage because it wasn't very good at this. But GPT-4 is a lot better now. So it actually told me as of a certain day, it gave me some of my papers. Actually, the first one is actually a book. The third one is actually not the title of a paper. It's actually topic that I do research in. So we can use AI to find references. You can feed it in a paper that's been written and say, write me an abstract for this manuscript, feed in the entire paper. I actually did that this past week, fit in an entire paper, and then I can kind of query it about the paper. You can have it identify errors, find citations, analyze data, summarize the analysis. You can have it write catchy titles, simplify, expound, critique, formalize, explain to a 10-year-old. I love that one. If you go to GPT and give it something complex and say, explain this to a 10-year-old, it'll simplify that thing to a great degree. All right, the disclosure issue. This is a paper I submitted to a journal just a couple weeks ago, and it said, did you use generative AI to write this manuscript? Which I did not. But that's an issue the journals are going to have to face now. People can use generative AI to actually do the work that previously was just done by the researcher here. All right, we're done here. Last thing I have, and then if there's time, we can open up for questions. I have a few takeaways. One is AI is a threat to traditional education. It will be disruptive, I can promise you that. Just like the steam engine was a threat to ditch diggers. Meaning it's disruptive, but in many better ways as we adjust and retool. Number two, AI can be our friend. There's a lot of people paranoid about AI, and I hear this quite a bit, security and privacy and stuff like that. But you know what? We're solving these problems. Is that AI can help us be more productive. It can increase student engagement. It can decrease monotony. I think in the end of the day, AI is going to be a big win for higher education. Finally, as usual, with every one of these industrial revolutions that we've had over the last 250 years, adapt or dwindle. My favorite AI quote, and this is attributed to IBM. I don't know if it was actually IBM that said this or not, but it supposedly came from some IBM report. AI won't replace people, but people who use AI will replace people who don't. That's all I have.